Yes, the Europa Super Cup is done and dusted, and this is just pure drama. It is as dramatic as we expected it to be. Did I just say that? I'm actually kidding because nobody expected this to be this dramatic. What I expected going into this game is a very easy win for PSG. And to be honest with you, that's what most people expected because we know this PSG team. We saw what they did last year. In fact, what they did last season is something no other person expected them to do. Then when you come on the side of Tottenham Hotspur, those of us that fully watch the Premier League, we understand. We know who Tottenham Hotspur are. We know that this is a team that almost found themselves in the relegation position last season. So the fact that they are even playing this particular game against PSG is already interesting in itself. But nonetheless, going into this game, I expected a very easy win for PSG. But from the moment the game started, we started seeing a completely different thing altogether. Tottenham today performed really well. Like, I'm not going to take anything away from them. They really performed well. They did so well. Defensively, God. Go and watch the game. Like, forget what the scoreline is saying. I know this thing has become almost a cliche in football games where they tell you to overlook the scoreline. But in this particular case, seriously, don't overthink the scoreline for now. Yes, for now. First of all, let's focus on the game itself because Spurs really performed here. In fact, at some point, I was asking myself, is this the same Tottenham Hotspur that we've known in recent years? How come they are performing really well today? Because if you saw the game, you will notice that they were causing a lot of problem for PSG. Check the whole of the first half. PSG were nowhere to be found. Like, they were basically lost in the game. But on the side of Tottenham Hotspur, they really performed. Even in the second half of the game, until things became messy for them. But before things got to that point, Spurs were able to get 2 goals advantage. Yes, in fact, until the 85th minute of the game, with basically 5 minutes of normal time to play, plus any other extra minutes that comes with extra time. So until that very moment, 85th minute, Spurs were leading 2-0. Yes, 2 goals. Where on earth will you see a team that claims to be a big team? Where would you see them being 2 goals ahead in a cup final and they still find a way to mess it up? That is the side of Tottenham that is very hard for us to understand. Seriously, I was thinking it would be very different today under their new manager, Thomas Frank, who was very impressive in the way he made them to defend, because the Tottenham Hotspur we saw last season were very good in attack. Yes, when it comes to attacking football, you know they will attack really well. When it comes to goal scoring, you are very sure they will score. But the other thing we are also sure of is that their back is leaking. They would concede as much goals as possible. So in today's game, we were expecting, the expectations were not there. But from the moment they kicked the ball, from the first minute, it was very obvious that a lot of changes has been made. Defensively, they looked so much stronger. They were throwing their body on the line. They were also doubling up to perform defensive duties. So they made it really, really hard for anyone in PSG to have a good game. Until when? Until the 85th minute. In fact, before that point, when Tottenham were already 2 goals ahead, from the last quarter of the game, you notice that they basically stopped attacking. They went full on a defensive mode, and that was when PSG saw opportunity and started pressing several buttons. To be honest with you, in that last 20-25 minutes of normal time of the game, despite the fact that PSG were pressing and the Tottenham Hotspur decided to sit back and defend, it felt like they are making the right decision, because with 2 goals advantage, what could possibly go wrong? But you are playing against the European champions. Let's not forget it. You are playing against this solid PSG. And in today's game, in that last 5 minutes of normal time and that extra 5 minutes of added time, they showed exactly why they are the European champions. Because what happened? They got their goal in the 85th minute, the first goal. And the moment they scored that goal, you could basically see that these guys woke up. They knew that they must get something out of this game. In fact, the way they were pressing, you could see that belief in them. And yeah, in the 90 plus 4 minutes, just 1 minute remaining for everything to come to an end, they scored an equalizer. Wow. I really don't want to imagine what it feels like to be in that position as, let's say, a Tottenham fan. God, I can't even imagine. But funny enough, I think I fully understand what it feels like. Because just over the weekend, we saw the same thing in the Community Shield game that was played by Liverpool. What happened? We went ahead, scored the first goal, we conceded a goal, we scored the second goal, we conceded the second goal, and we ended this game 2-2 draw, that particular game. And when it came to penalty shootouts, Liverpool's penalty were really unimpressive. So in today's game, we saw almost the same thing with Tottenham Hotspur against this PSG side. When it came to penalty shootout, Tottenham actually impressed in the penalties, but their performance was just not good enough to get them the win. So by the end of the day, what we saw is that same old Spurs that we know, the same Spurs that could score 3 goals in the first half and come to the second half and end up losing the game. That same Spurs that can play against Liverpool and get a win. But then when they play against Southampton, you will be asking yourself, what is going on here? How did they lose this match? That is exactly what the final scoreline is showing us today. And it is really, really a pity for these guys in Spurs. It is also a pity for Thomas Frank, who played his very first competitive game for Spurs today. And despite the fact that I don't really fancy Tottenham, like, I'm also not too bothered about them. But something about me just wanted something good for Thomas Frank in his new adventure in Tottenham. But from what we saw today, I don't know. I really don't know what is going to happen. But there is still some positives to pick up. Like I said, defensively, until that 85th minute, they really looked very solid. They looked very solid. The way they were doubling up to defend and the way they were just throwing their body on the line. This is a positive that when they sleep and wake up tomorrow, Tottenham fans can look at it and say, okay, we lost a game we shouldn't have lost, but there is still something positive that we could take away from the game. So the way they defended today, if they could keep it up for a full 90 minutes, it would really make a lot of difference for them. When it comes to attack, I mean, they are very decent attacking wise. Kudus today performed really well. And one thing that really worked as a disadvantage for Tottenham Hotspur is all the substitutions they made. The subs they made, everyone that came in as a sub basically did nothing. But on the side of the PSG, everyone that came on board had impact, especially the South Korean guy, Lee. He's really impressive, and it's a pity that he's not getting enough game time over there in PSG. So that's it on this particular one. Like I said, this game, it's ended up being a lot more entertaining and a lot more dramatic than anyone expected it to be. Like, seriously, it's had no business being this interesting. I mean, it's only this interesting because I don't have anything on the line. But anyone out there that is a Tottenham fan, I don't imagine this to be an interesting game for you. But it is something that you could basically learn from, especially as you walk into the beginning of a very fresh season with a couple of new players and a few more that could be joining you guys. And yes, one thing we need to say is on the set pieces that we saw from Spurs today. The 2 goals they got came from set pieces. It seems like something is really going on in the set piece department, and if they bring this into next season and it becomes really effective for them, it could be a game changer for them. So that's it on this particular one. A new season is already coming. 2 days from now, we'll watch the first game that will be played by Liverpool. You guys have to be here for it because I myself am a Liverpool fan. But this channel is not limited to Liverpool alone. So join me on this ride. Let's do it.